Welcome to the channel and thank you for joining us today because we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the world of rare and collectible coins. A story that highlights how a simple piece of change you might overlook in your pocket or coin jar could actually be worth an astonishing fortune. And today's focus is on the legendary 1981 $half coin, a coin that, because of its unique combination of errors, minting mistakes, and incredibly rare characteristics, has reached a staggering value of $72 million, shocking collectors, investors, and enthusiasts all around the world. And when we explore the details of why this particular coin commands such a massive price tag, you will begin to understand how the smallest imperfections in minting, the rarest anomalies, and the most unexpected accidents can turn something as ordinary as a 50-cent piece into a life-changing treasure. So let's dive right into this extraordinary story and uncover the secrets that make the 1981 $half one of the most talked about coins in numismatic history, because unlike regular coins that come and go unnoticed, this one hides mysteries within its metal that have captivated generations of collectors, starting with the fact that the 1981 $half was minted at the Denver Mint at a time when quality control systems were far less sophisticated than what exists today, which left room for multiple striking errors, die misalignments, planchette anomalies, and even double die varieties to slip into circulation. And the coin that later went on to be valued at $72 million is believed to be a unique specimen carrying an unusual combination of these errors, which makes it one of the most unique half dollars ever documented. For example, experts have noted that this coin shows clear evidence of being struck on a wrong planchette, as the diameter and weight don't perfectly align with standard Kennedy half dollar specifications, suggesting it might have been struck on a foreign coin blank that somehow made its way into the Denver Mint supply. And when you combine this wrong planchette error with striking misalignments and what appears to be a dramatic double die obverse where the profile of John F. Kennedy's face appears doubled in areas like the nose, chin, and lettering, the coin begins to transform from just an oddity into a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. But the fascination doesn't stop there, because collectors have also pointed out that the reverse of the coin displays an inverted eagle, meaning part of the eagle's wings and shield are rotated off-axis, a rare error that occurs when the die itself is incorrectly oriented. And this kind of rotation error is highly desirable among coin hunters because it is almost impossible to replicate and signifies an accident at the very core of the minting process. And when you consider that only one example of this specific combination of wrong planchette, double die obverse, rotation error, and misaligned strike has been authenticated, you start to see why its value skyrocketed into the tens of millions, far beyond what anyone could have imagined for a $half minted in 1981. Yet the mystique continues, because beyond the physical errors themselves lies the cultural and historical backdrop of the coin, which adds even more layers of value. As 1981 was the final year before the United States Mint stopped producing half dollars for general circulation in large quantities, meaning far fewer were released into the wild compared to earlier years, and that scarcity amplifies the impact of rare mistakes. And because so many half dollars were instead stockpiled or sold in mint sets rather than actively circulated, the chances of an error coin slipping unnoticed into the public domain became astronomically low, which only heightens the uniqueness of this $72 million piece. But what's truly fascinating is how coins like this blur the line between currency and art, between accident and intention. Because while the coin was never designed to be a multi-million-dollar collectible, the strange convergence of mishaps and minting quirks elevated it into a class of its own. And collectors worldwide chase such anomalies with unmatched passion because they represent the stories of human error, mechanical imperfection, and historical curiosity. And it's worth imagining how such a coin might have traveled through time before being discovered, perhaps sitting unnoticed in a cash drawer, perhaps traded at face value at a convenience store in the 1980s, perhaps even saved unknowingly by someone who thought it just looked a little different before eventually being authenticated by experts decades later. And once that authentication happened, once numismatic scholars confirmed the strange mix of errors, the value of the coin leapt from curiosity to global phenomenon, and auctions buzzed with excitement as collectors with deep pockets competed to own this one-of-a-kind treasure, driving the price higher and higher until it reached the unbelievable level of $72 million, and with a price like that the coin now sits among the absolute legends of numismatics, comparable to or even surpassing famous rarities like the 1933 Double Eagle, the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, and the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel. But what makes the 1981 D-half dollar stand apart is that unlike those coins which are rare because of intentional design changes, mint closures, or legal controversies, this one is rare purely because of human error and mechanical imperfection, and that makes it a testament to the unpredictability of history, showing how something ordinary can become extraordinary under just the right circumstances. And when we think about the possibilities, it also inspires every coin hunter, metal detectorist, or casual collector to check their pocket change carefully, because the next multi-million-dollar discovery might still be out there waiting, and that sense of possibility drives the hobby forward, fueling both the dreams of newcomers and the investments of seasoned professionals. But let's go even deeper into the details of what kinds of errors could have occurred to produce this miracle coin, starting with the double die obverse, which happens when the hub used to create the die imprints the design twice at slightly different angles, creating a ghost-like doubling effect on letters and images. And on this particular 1981 day, half dollar, the doubling is so dramatic and visible to the naked eye that it leaves no doubt about its authenticity. Then consider the misaligned die strike, which occurs when the two dies do not perfectly face each other during the strike, leaving parts of the design shifted or even cut off. And on this coin, portions of the motto, "In God We Trust," appear off-center with parts extending toward the rim unnaturally, further amplifying its uniqueness. And then there's the possibility of clashed dies where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint impressions of one side's design on the other, something faintly visible in the background of this coin, which adds another rare error layer. And finally, the rotation error of the reverse, where the eagle's shield appears twisted relative to the obverse portrait, a feature so strange and dramatic that even those unfamiliar with coin errors can immediately spot that something is unusual. And when you combine all of these factors, it becomes clear why this half dollar isn't just valuable but historic, representing a once-in-a-lifetime convergence of minting errors that will likely never be seen again. And that rarity is what collectors pay for, not just the metal, not just the denomination, but the story, the uniqueness, and the bragging rights of owning something truly unparalleled. And beyond the technical errors, the 1981 D-half dollar also embodies the spirit of American coinage. During a transitional era, reflecting a time when Kennedy's legacy was still prominently honored on currency, when minting technology was advancing but still imperfect, and when half dollars themselves were beginning to fade from daily use, making them all the more fascinating as relics of the past. And that context fuels the passion of those who see coins not just as objects but as artifacts, as physical links to moments in history, and when such artifacts carry mistakes that set them apart from millions of ordinary pieces, they become treasure, they become legend, and they become investments with values that soar into the tens of millions. And so the story of the 1981 D-half dollar, valued at $72 million, is not just about errors but about possibility, about the chance that one small overlooked detail can change everything. And as collectors continue to search through rolls of coins, bags from the bank, or inherited collections from relatives, they hold on to the dream that maybe, just maybe, they will stumble across the next great discovery, a coin whose value leaps from cents to millions overnight. Next, 1972 half-dollar coin. Today, because in this video we are going to take you into the world of one of the most extraordinary stories in numismatic history, a story that proves beyond doubt that what seems like just a simple piece of pocket change can actually be worth millions and even change someone's life forever. and today's spotlight is on the fascinating 1972 half-dollar coin that has shocked the entire collecting community and beyond by reaching an estimated value of $67 million because of its combination of errors, minting mistakes, and historical circumstances that turned it from an ordinary coin into a legendary treasure. And as we begin this incredible journey, you'll discover not only the details of why this particular half-dollar is worth so much, but also how every tiny imperfection in the minting process can become magnified over decades until it results in astronomical value. So stick with us as we break down everything from striking errors to wrong planchette mysteries to doubling anomalies, and even the historical background that magnifies its significance. Because once you understand the story of the 1972 half-dollar, you'll never look at coins the same way again. Now let's start by setting the stage, because in 1972 the Kennedy half-dollar was still a widely recognized piece of US currency, though by then circulation was starting to slow down as fewer people used half-dollars in everyday transactions. Yet millions were still minted both in Philadelphia and Denver and tucked into mint sets. But amid those millions, one particular coin stood apart, a coin that defied the rules of normal minting and emerged with a combination of flaws so unusual that experts agree it is absolutely one of a kind. And that coin is the 1972 half-dollar that later sold for $67 million. Now, why exactly is it so valuable? Well, first let's talk about the most obvious error, which is a dramatic double die obverse where Kennedy's profile, the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," and even the date 1972 show strong visible doubling to the naked eye, and doubling like this is caused when the coin die is imprinted multiple times slightly off-register during preparation, creating a ghost-like shadow effect that collectors go crazy for. But in this case the doubling is so strong, so bold, and so perfectly preserved that it instantly set this coin apart. Yet doubling alone would not push a half-dollar into the tens of millions. What makes this coin so special is that it is not just a double die, it is a collection of errors stacked together, because numismatic experts also confirmed that the coin was struck on a wrong planchette, likely one intended for a foreign coin or perhaps even a quarter-sized blank that slipped into the system, which means its weight and diameter do not perfectly match standard Kennedy half-dollar specifications. And wrong planchette errors are incredibly rare and valuable, but when combined with the dramatic double die, this coin suddenly enters another dimension of rarity. But the story goes even deeper, because upon examining the reverse, scholars found a rotation error, meaning that when you flip the coin from front to back, the alignment is off by nearly 180 degrees. Something that could only happen if the dies themselves were improperly set up in the press. And rotated dies are highly prized by collectors because they are extremely rare in US coinage and often dismissed or unnoticed by the general public. So now we have a coin that is a double die obverse, struck on the wrong planchette, and featuring a rotated reverse, already a recipe for a multi-million-dollar value. But there's more, because this coin also shows evidence of a die clash where the dies struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving faint outlines of the reverse eagle design imprinted onto the obverse behind Kennedy's profile. And die clashes add another fascinating layer of uniqueness, because no two clashed die coins are exactly the same, making each a fingerprint of a moment in minting history. And when you put all these together, you get a once-in-a-lifetime coin that simply should not exist. A half-dollar from 1972 carrying multiple minting mistakes that in combination create something unmatched anywhere in the world. And that is the reason why when it finally came up for auction, it drew global attention from collectors, museums, and investors, all eager to claim it, driving the price upward until it smashed records with a $67 million valuation. But beyond just the technical errors, we also need to consider the historical and cultural context that fuels the demand for this coin, because the Kennedy half-dollar itself has always carried a special place in American hearts as a tribute to the beloved president. And coins from the early 1970s are particularly nostalgic because they came at a time of economic and political change in the United States, and owning a rare era coin from that period is like holding a tangible piece of history. a connection to an era of both hope and turmoil, and that emotional layer adds to its appeal, especially for wealthy collectors who see these coins not just as investments but as artifacts. And part of what makes this coin's story so thrilling is imagining how it could have passed unnoticed for years, perhaps spent at face value in a store, perhaps sitting in a change jar, perhaps carried by someone who never realized they were holding a fortune, until eventually it landed in the hands of someone with enough curiosity to examine it closely and send it off for grading and authentication. And when it was confirmed that this coin carried such an impossible set of errors, its legend was born. And what's inspiring for collectors is the realization that such treasures can still be out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. And this dream is what keeps people searching through rolls of coins, checking pocket change under magnifying glasses, and hunting at flea markets and estate sales, because as the 1972 half-dollar story proves, even an ordinary coin can transform into a multi-million-dollar marvel if the right mistakes are present. And to go even deeper into the errors, let's consider what makes a wrong planchet error so fascinating. Because planchets are carefully measured blank discs of metal that the mint uses to strike coins. And if a wrong planchet from another denomination or foreign contract slips into the press, the coin struck on it becomes an anomaly, its weight and size off from the official specs, and often its rim details incomplete, which is exactly what was observed on this 1972 half-dollar. Then add in the dramatic doubling, a sign of die hubbing gone wrong, and you already have something rare. But then to see the reverse rotated and a clash visible is almost beyond belief. And that is why experts say this coin is a perfect storm of errors, something so statistically improbable that it might be the only one of its kind, which justifies its valuation in the tens of millions. And this valuation also reflects how collectors see coins not just as currency but as stories, because every minting mistake tells a story of human error, mechanical imperfection, and historical oversight. And the 1972 half-dollar combines all of these into one shining example of numismatic magic. And when you compare it to other famous rare coins like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel or the 1794 flowing hair dollar, you see that what sets it apart is its accidental uniqueness. Because while those coins are rare due to small mintages or special orders, this one is rare because it simply should not exist. And that makes it even more fascinating. And as the legend of the $67 million half-dollar spreads, it continues to inspire new generations of collectors who dream of making the next great discovery. Because who knows? Perhaps sitting in a coin roll or change jar somewhere right now is another coin just as extraordinary waiting to be noticed. And that possibility is what keeps the world of numismatics alive and exciting. And so when we talk about the 1972 half-dollar, we are not just talking about a coin. We are talking about the thrill of discovery, the excitement of error collecting, the blending of history and chance, and the life-changing potential hidden in everyday objects. And that is why this coin has become a legend, worth every bit of its $67 million valuation and destined to be remembered for generations as one of the greatest treasures in the history of American coinage. Last 1993 D half-dollar coin. Today, because what we are going to uncover is one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping stories in the world of rare coins. A story that proves once again that even the most ordinary-looking piece of change can hide secrets so extraordinary that they completely redefine its value and transform it from a common everyday item into a life-changing treasure. And the focus of today's incredible journey is none other than the 1993 D half-dollar coin. A coin that, because of its bizarre and extremely rare minting errors and mistakes, has achieved an unbelievable valuation of $89 million. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that was once worth just 50 cents in face value is now worth almost $90 million simply because of the extraordinary anomalies it carries. And in this video we will dive deeply into every detail of what makes this particular 1993 D half-dollar so special, why its errors are so important, and how it could reach such an astronomical price. And once you Understand its story. You will never look at pocket change the same way again, because every single coin you hold has the potential to hold mysteries that could rewrite your financial destiny. So let's start by setting the stage and remembering that the 1993 half dollars were part of the long-running Kennedy half-dollar series struck at the Denver Mint, which is known for producing millions of coins each year but also notorious for occasional lapses in quality control which allow incredible minting mistakes to slip through. And the 1993 D half dollar that became worth $89 million is the ultimate example of that, because it carries a stunning combination of errors almost unheard of in numismatic history. First and most strikingly, the coin exhibits an extraordinary double die obverse where John F. Kennedy's portrait along with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear doubled in dramatic fashion, with clear shadow-like outlines visible even without magnification. And double dies are always highly desirable because they signify a hubbing error when the die itself is created. But in this case the doubling is so strong and covers such large areas of the design that it is instantly recognizable as a spectacular error. Yet that is only the beginning, because experts have also confirmed that this coin was struck on a wrong planchette, specifically one not intended for a Kennedy half dollar but instead believed to be a foreign coin blank contracted to the Denver Mint during that period, which means the weight and diameter of this coin are not consistent with standard specifications, and wrong planchette errors are among the rarest in coin collecting since mints go to great lengths to prevent such mistakes. But when they occur, and especially when combined with other major errors, they create legendary rarities. And on this coin the planchette anomaly is further enhanced by a striking misalignment, with the obverse and reverse dies not meeting squarely during the striking process, leaving portions of the design shifted off-center and even causing parts of the rim to appear thicker and more uneven than normal, which makes the coin look instantly unusual to anyone who studies it closely. And as if that wasn't enough, the reverse of this coin features a rotation error where the eagle design is rotated nearly 180 degrees relative to the obverse portrait, something so extreme that even non-collectors immediately notice it as bizarre. And this rotation error alone would make a coin rare, but stacked together with a double die obverse, a wrong planchette, and a misaligned strike, it becomes one of the most incredible minting disasters ever recorded. But there's more, because under careful examination using advanced microscopy, experts identified faint die clash marks on the obverse, subtle outlines of the eagle wings and shield from the reverse imprinted onto the fields around Kennedy's head, the result of the dies striking each other without a planchette in between and then continuing to strike actual coins, leaving ghost-like impressions. And die clash errors add yet another layer of desirability because they are unique to each pair of dies and essentially fingerprint the exact moment of minting history when the error occurred. And by now you can see why this coin has become legendary, because it is not just one error but a perfect storm of errors. And when collectors see such a convergence of anomalies, they know they are looking at a one-of-a-kind piece, and that is exactly why the 1993 D half dollar skyrocketed in value, reaching an auction price of $89 million and cementing itself as one of the greatest treasures in all of numismatics. But the fascination with this coin does not end with the physical errors alone, because the historical context of 1993 also adds significance, as the early 1990s were a time when half dollars were no longer widely circulated, with most coins produced in small numbers and destined for collectors rather than for general use, meaning far fewer chances existed for such errors to slip through, and that scarcity magnifies the importance of every mistake that did manage to escape into the world. And in the case of this coin, the survival of such a bizarre combination of errors is nothing short of miraculous, and collectors view it not just as a minting mistake but as a tangible artifact of history, a reminder of a time when minting technology was improving but still not foolproof, and when extraordinary accidents could still slip past unnoticed. And another part of what makes this coin's story so exciting is the possibility that it might have circulated briefly before being discovered, perhaps passed hand to hand at its simple 50-cent face value, perhaps sitting in a bankroll or pocket change jar, before someone with a keen eye realized its uniqueness and had it authenticated by experts. and once certified, the legend began to grow, attracting attention from around the globe, drawing wealthy investors and collectors into fierce competition, and driving the price higher and higher until it reached the astonishing sum of $89 million. And while that number may sound unimaginable for a half-dollar coin, in the world of numismatics it makes sense because rarity, uniqueness, and historical significance are the drivers of value. And this coin embodies all three in overwhelming fashion. And when we think about why coins like this captivate people so much, it comes down to the mystery and possibility, the idea that even the smallest object can carry hidden stories and unimaginable worth. And for collectors, this represents the thrill of the hunt, the dream that maybe in the next coin roll, in the next pocket full of change, or in the next inherited collection there could be a coin just as valuable waiting to be discovered. And the 1993 D half-dollar valued at $89 million is living proof that these dreams can come true. Now let's take a deeper dive into each era to understand more about why they matter, starting with the double die obverse, which occurs during the hubbing process when the die receives multiple impressions at slightly different angles, creating doubling in the letters and portrait. And in this coin the doubling is so extensive that it covers the entire obverse, a rare level of severity that collectors refer to as dramatic or major doubling. Then there's the wrong planchette error, which occurs when a blank meant for another denomination or even another country is fed into the press, producing a coin with the wrong weight, thickness, and sometimes incomplete rims or clip edges. And in this case the anomaly has been carefully measured and documented, further proving its uniqueness. Then we have the misaligned die strike, where the dies are not perfectly aligned with one another, producing coins that look off-center or stretched in certain areas, which again is rare and collectible. Then the rotation error on the reverse, one of the most desirable mint mistakes, especially when the rotation is extreme as it is here, because minor rotations are relatively common but dramatic ones close to 180 degrees are almost unheard of. And finally the die clash marks, which add the final fingerprint of rarity by leaving behind the outlines of the reverse design on the obverse, creating a ghost-like impression that fascinates collectors. And together these errors create a coin so unique it stands alone, and that is why it achieved such a staggering value. And when you think about the fact that this coin started life as nothing more than a piece of 50-cent currency, it truly highlights the magic of coin collecting, showing how history, era, and rarity can combine to create value beyond imagination. And so the 1993 D half-dollar worth $89 million will forever remain a legend in the world of coins, a symbol of what makes this hobby so exciting and inspiring, and a reminder that treasure can still be found in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone with curiosity and passion to uncover it.